Hello, Vegas, and hello to my no longer punters. A punter is a risky or novice gambler who loses all their money. You learned something. This is Football Unlock's best bets for week 2. Now let's do the precursor right off the bat. If you have an addiction to gambling, if you have a problem with gambling, if you are like an acquaintance of mine who has a doctor and a nurse in a 2-income household, blowing all your money and living in a trailer park, if that sounds like you, please hit the back button. Your risk tolerance is too high and we can't have you hurting yourself. So please, back button, seek help, be responsible. For the rest of you, let's talk briefly about bankroll management. You should be on a 100-to-1 scale. That means you have 100 units in the amount of money you're willing to lose. So if you're dropping $100 a unit, then you should have $10,000 that you are willing to lose. Only discretionary funds here, folks. Again, make smart decisions. Gambling isn't only about your football knowledge, it's also about your betting structure. So tighten up your betting structure and you'll do better, without a doubt. We have 5 bets for you this week. We have 2 on the 1-unit line, 2 on the 3-unit line, and 1 on the 5-unit line. And the first one pretty much has a theme. And for the Cowboy fans, because you're from Texas, we're going to call this one, Remember the Senior Bowl. Frankenstein Terrence Steele got obliterated all Senior Bowl week against Uche and Anai. And neither of those players have played a snap in the NFL to this point. Enter Fowler and McKinley. This is not a good situation for the Dallas line. And to make it worse, Tyron Smith has picked up a neck injury this season, or this week, in practice. Now, it is entirely possible he will miss the game, and if he misses this game, this isn't a cover, this is a money line winner as an underdog for the Falcons. We've seen this story before. A couple years ago, Tyron Smith was out against the Atlanta Falcons, and Adrian Claiborne tore them apart and had a game for the ages. And in their first game versus Seattle, Atlanta showed a 5-man front, which put Tack or Fowler in a wide 9. Good luck chasing him, Steele. It ain't going to happen. This is going to bring a lot of pressure to Dallas's front right off the bat. If Smith is out, it's going to get worse. And this is going to make Dallas have to operate in front of the zone in Atlanta. We saw last week that is not the way to attack Atlanta. You want to get down the field on them. You want to stretch the play out with the quarterback mobility and drop it off and let them run through the stretched out zone. Russell Wilson was flawless. Dak's not Russell. On the other side of it, the Atlanta Falcons offense was sharp. They had a twist that they ran against Seattle, which was a Seattle beater. It's going to be a Dallas beater too. It's a max protect that lets Julio, Ridley, and Gage get out in the routes. Matt Ryan's precise timing lets them eat. It's going to be successful for them this week as well. Now, I'm seeing this line anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 points being given to the Falcons. Take it at 4, take it for 1 unit. And if Tyron Smith is out for the game, you can take the money line for another 1 unit as well. Game 2, we're betting both sides of the game. We're going to be betting the over and we're going to be betting the cover. This one will be Jacksonville, Tennessee. Now, coming into the season, we all believe Jacksonville was terrible, and they played a perfect game against the Colts, and the Colts pretty much handed them 16 to 19 points in that game. That's how you go from a cover to a loss. That's football. That's gambling. And Rivers' arm looked weaker than ever. There was more there to be had. I expect this efficient offense of Tennessee and Tannehill's better arm strength to pick them apart, and they can walk up and down the field on this. I don't know for the DFS people if it's going to be a Henry day or if it's going to be a Tannehill day, but you want your eyes on Tennessee. Look over at Khalif Raymond. He's going to play a bunch more, and I like his matchup against Herndon. In fact, I like every Tennessee matchup except for Humphreys against Hayden. So for this game, on the 1 line, we're going to be playing the over 43 to 44.5. I really don't care which number it is. I expect it to exceed that. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee puts 38 on the board themselves. And then on the 3 line, we're going to be looking at Tennessee. Now, the line I'm seeing all over the place is different. I'm seeing anywhere from Tennessee -7.5 to Tennessee -11. If it's under 10, I like this on the 3 line. If you can't find it under 10, I would take it on the 1 unit line. For our second 3-unit bet of the week, we are looking right back at Baltimore. Now, we had our reservations about what we were going to see from the Texans offense, and it lived up to it. It was concerning. Watson wants a vertical passing game. Bill O'Brien wants a possession passing game. It's a bad mix. And the vertical threats that the Texans have are not as daunting as they were last season. If you want to dink and dunk in front of the speed of the Baltimore Ravens, you're going to be in for a long day. They have a ton of speed across the field. They are bringing their blitzes. They are chasing down quarterbacks. Watson's not going to be able to run away from Queen, from Judon, and from the speed of the Baltimore Ravens. On top of that, I'm a little concerned about Lamar versus Weaver in this week's matchup, because the zone that Weaver is going to play, it showed a little complexity, and that's something that can rattle Lamar just a little bit. But the big concern for the Texans is that they miss Reader really bad. Brandon Dunn looked average, and PJ Hall is a bull in a china shop. One play, he will make a great play. The next 10, he will give up his run integrity. The interior of the Houston defense looks very soft. I expect the dive play with Ingram and Dobbins to be a body blow that keeps paying dividends all day, which then opens up the speed to the outside, and you only have one linebacker in the Texans system who can have a chance to run with the speed that Baltimore presents. I think this just keeps going for Baltimore this week, so we are going to take Baltimore from anywhere from -5.5 to -7.5. Whatever it is, we'll take them for 3 units. And for our 5-unit bet this week, we're going to head to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay plays Carolina, and this is a very bad situation for Joe Brady. You do not want to be the offense that follows an offense that mirrors you into the teeth of a tough defense 2 weeks in a row. It's as if they get to prepare for you twice. And it's rare to say this, but this is not a good matchup for Christian McCaffrey. They have an incredibly stout front, and the speed of White and Levante David in the middle is incredible. Sean Payton and Drew Brees weaved an efficient gem to get points on the board. I just don't expect that to be the same case for Carolina. They're already down an offensive lineman, and this Tampa Bay front is just too dangerous. Now, the offense for Tampa Bay was off last week. Brady looked off. I know it, you know it, Arians knows it, Brady knows it. Favre doesn't need to talk because everybody knows it. The only people who didn't seem to be PFF, who graded him insanely high. What are you looking at? But if you want to be one of those people who says this is the end of Brady, yeah, bet against him. Go ahead, because this isn't going to last. Tampa Bay will be much sharper this week. I expect a great output by them. There were mistakes made all over the place in the Carolina secondary last week against the Raiders. They're down short. They're down Yetur Gross-Matos. The defensive line is starting to thin out for them already, and the linebackers just aren't very good. Both lines on Tampa Bay so far this season stank of bait to me. They wanted you to think Tampa Bay was going to cover last week. They want you to doubt Tampa Bay this week. Stay consistent. You know this team is good. We're going to put 5 units on Tampa Bay, anywhere from 8 to 8.5. I think this is a clean, decisive victory for them. 10, 14, 17 points. One of those good team clinical beatdowns that you see all along the course of a team's season. So that's 5 bets for the week. Tampa Bay covering, Baltimore covering, Tennessee covering, the over in the Tennessee-Jacksonville game, and Atlanta. We're taking the points and watching Tyron Smith's availability. If he's not playing, you can take the money line for an additional 1 unit. Now to recap last week, we went 1-2. Punter's delight. Old habits die hard, don't they? First bet we had was Pittsburgh on the 3-unit line. That was no sweat, even though Roethlisberger's early game rust made it a little dicey for a bit. We had the Jets covering for 2 units, and that's a mistake because you do not let bad teams crawl up your board. They have a way of puking on the field, and gangrene, puked gangrene all over the field in week 1. Should have been a 1-unit bet. It was wrong regardless. And then on our 1-unit line, we took Seattle, but we parlayed it with a money line on the Indianapolis Colts for 1 unit. When you do dumb things, the gambling god laughs at you. And that's exactly what we did for week 1. We also lean towards Kansas City, lean towards New Orleans. Week 1 goes 1-2 with a woulda, coulda, shoulda been 4-1. We lost 2.2 units on the Jets and a little under 0.7 units on the parlay that was parlayed up to win 1 unit, putting us up a little bit more than 1/10 of a unit, so up is up. But week 1 was pretty dicey with no preseason look at the teams and a lot of moving pieces. We limped into the early season, added to our board a little bit of self-inflicted stupid, but at least we're no worse for wear after week 1. The picture continues to get clearer every single week. We start to lock in, and it's time to start making a little bit of money. I love you guys. We need you. Stay strong, and I'll see you on the other side.